This question paper is quite easy if you are very strong with your concepts. According to Arrhenius concept, anything which can give an H plus ion is an acid, anything which can give OH minus ion is a base. Coagulating power is inversely proportional to coagulating value. Lithium aluminum hydride is a nucleophilic reductant. Hello my dear students, I am Priyanka Rajaram from Vidyashram PU College, Temple of Excellence. Today I shall solve Karnataka CET 2018 chemistry question paper for y'all. This question paper is quite easy if you are very strong with your concepts, as well as the number of numericals is quite less in number in this question paper. So we'll see the first question. 1 gram of magnesium is burnt with 0.28 grams of oxygen in a closed vessel. Which reactant is left in excess and how much? So they have taken magnesium and oxygen for reaction. They also have given us the mass of magnesium and mass of oxygen which was taken in a closed vessel. Okay. Now we have to find out which of the reactant is in excess, okay, and how much of it is left behind unreacted. Fine. So we'll write the equation. Magnesium plus oxygen gives magnesium oxide. From this balanced chemical equation, you will get to know that 2 moles of magnesium requires 1 mole of oxygen to give magnesium oxide. Or if I have to put it in grams, it is 2 into 24 grams reacts with 32 grams of oxygen. But what do we have? We have 1 gram of magnesium which is burnt with 0.28 grams of oxygen. From this ratio, you get to know that oxygen is the limiting reagent. So we'll calculate how much of magnesium is used up for 0.28 grams of oxygen. So magnesium used up is equal to 0.28 into 2 into 24 divided by 32. So I can write this as 3 and 4. 8 3s are 24 and 8 4s are 32. So 2 1s are 2 2s are again 2 1s are 0.14. So you will get it as 0.14 into 3. That is nothing but 0.42 grams is what is used up out of 1 gram. So magnesium is in excess and magnesium remaining unreacted is equal to, out of 1 gram 0.42 grams is used up. So we have 0.58 grams which is left in excess. So the answer is option B. Okay. See the options of this question very carefully. Without even actually solving the entire problem, you can pick the correct answer. How is it? See here, you have magnesium with 5.8 grams as the answer and magnesium with 0.58 grams. This answer is surely wrong because you have only 1 gram. If 1 gram is there, how can 5.8 grams remain? So of course this answer is wrong. Next you see oxygen. Oxygen they have taken only is 0.28 grams. Correct? Then how can 0.24 grams remain? you see the equation, you will get an idea even this one is wrong. And also oxygen is the one which is the limiting reagent. What is the question? They have asked us which is in excess, correct? Here also D is obviously wrong because they have taken only 0.28 grams and here 2.4 grams is remaining. Again, this is the wrong answer. So obviously option B should be the correct answer even if you don't solve, but this is the method to solve the question. Okay. So we'll see the next question. The orbital nearest to the nucleus. Nucleus, the lower energy levels are very close to the nucleus. Here we have 4F, 5D, 4S and 7P. And if we have this as the nucleus, we have S, P, D and F which is placed. So even if you take in this way, you are going to get the answer as 4F and 4S has N value is 4, that is the lowest value. 5D and 7P is where the principal quantum number, that is 5 and 7 is higher compared to 4. So that is ruled out. Those cannot be close to the nucleus. It should be 4S or 4S. S orbital is closer. So the answer is 4S. Even if you take N plus L rule and solve, you will get the same answer as 4S. Okay. So the next one, which of the following is correct order of radius? Here we'll just look into the options. First option you see, it is the same atom, hydrogen atom. One we have H minus, that is anion, and H plus which is the cation of the parent atom hydrogen. Option 1. You see option B, C and D. What you can observe here is B and C, it is the same ions which are there, but they are placed in a different way. And also if you observe, they are isoelectronic, that is they all have 10 electrons. Sodium atomic number 11, remove one electron, that is positive charge, it has got 10 electrons. Fluorine has got 9, atomic number 9, plus 1 electron because it's got a negative charge. So again it has got 10 electron. Oxygen atomic number 8, 2 extra electrons plus 2. So again it is 10 electron. So if you see B and C are isoelectronic, correct? D if you observe, again these are also isoelectronic, that is nitrogen atomic number 7, 8, 9, 10, 3 electrons. Magnesium 12, remove 2 electrons, 10 electrons. Aluminium 13, remove 3 electrons, you have got 10 electrons. So all these three, B, C and D are isoelectronic, and option A, it is the parent atom with the anionic form and the cationic form. Now if it is the same atom, then anion has got the largest radius, then comes the parent atom or the neutral atom, and then comes the cation. If it is for isoelectronic species, what we can write is the anions with the highest charge will have the highest radius, then comes the cations with the decreasing order of the charge. So for us the correct answer is option A, in which we have the parent atom, anionic form and the cationic form. Here it is wrong, option B, C and D, but I shall write the correct orders of their radius for you all. Here, because it is isoelectronic, for both B and C, it should have been O2 minus, and then we have F minus, and then we have Na plus. Correct? Okay. Whereas option D, if you take, it is N3 minus, then you have Mg plus 2, and the least is for Al plus 3. Okay. So this is the correct order for option B and C and D, in case you don't know how to solve it for isoelectronic species. Okay. So that is the Third question, we have the fourth one. The intramolecular hydrogen bond is present. Intramolecular means within the molecule where the hydrogen bond is present. We'll see the options. Phenol. Phenol is just benzene ring with OH group. Here there is no hydrogen bonding within the molecule which is possible. Next we have orthonitrophenol, that is phenol in the ortho position we have NO2 group. Okay. Then we have paranitrophenol, phenol in the para position we have NO2 group, and we have paracresol, that is OH with CH3 group in the para position. Now where is it possible? Of course, here it is very far, here also it is very far, it is opposite direction. Only in ortho it is very close to one another, and the hydrogen bond can be formed between hydrogen of OH and oxygen of NO2 group. So the answer is orthonitrophenol. Okay. Next question. The state of hybrid orbitals of carbon in carbon dioxide, methane and CO3 2- respectively is. If you remember what you have already studied, it is very simple to answer this question, because methane you know it is sp3 hybridized and carbon dioxide it is sp hybridized, and you have to just see the order. Even if you don't know CO3 2-, you can tick the correct answer here, that is sp3 is possible only with option C, sp3, and of course CO3- should be sp2. So you can directly tick the answer even if you know only of carbon dioxide and methane, which you have studied in your boards. But if you want to know the shortcut to calculate or to predict the hybridization for molecules which you don't know at all what is the hybridization taking place, then I shall show you the shortcut. So you have carbon dioxide. For example, I don't know what is the hybridization of carbon atom in carbon dioxide. I use the formula X is equal to half into, I have to write the valency of the central atom. Central atom is carbon here. Valency is 4. Okay. Then I have to add if there are any monovalent atoms attached to it. Oxygen is attached but it is not monovalent. So nothing is monovalent, so it is 0. There is no charge on this, it is not a cation nor it is an anion. So I don't have to add or minus anything over here. So this will be 2, 4 divided by 2 is 2. That means you have 2 hybrid orbitals. If the number is 2, it is sp hybridization. Okay. If number is 3, it is sp2. If number is 4, it is sp3. Okay. So this is how it will go on. You should refer the table of hybridization. Okay. Next, CH4. How do I find out? Half, valency is 4. I have 4 monovalent atoms here, that is hydrogen is monovalent. So 4, 8. So and there are no charges here. 8 divided by 2 is 4. 4 means it is sp3 hybridization. Okay. Now for CO3 2-, half carbon, valency of carbon is 4. I don't have any monovalent atom, so it is 0. But I do have a charge here. It is an anion. Whatever is the charge, if it is an anion, that charge has to be added. Okay. If it is a cation, then you have to minus the charge. So it's not a cation, so 0. I'll add the charge because it is anion. I will add it 2. Okay. So 4 plus 2 is 6. 6 divided by 2 is 3, and it is sp2 hybridization. Okay. So that is how you have to calculate or to find out the hybridization of some of the molecules. More to go, I shall solve when I am solving different question papers as well. Okay. Next one, for an ideal gas, compressibility factor is. What is compressibility factor? Z is equal to PV by nRT. Okay, so this Z is called as the compressibility factor. Okay, Z is equal to PV by nRT and Z is called as the compressibility factor. For ideal gases, compressibility factor is equal to 1. Okay, for real gases, it is not equal to 1. So this is for ideal gases and this is for real gases. Now, in real gases, if compressibility factor is less than 1, it will show negative deviation and the gas is compressible. Okay, if Z is greater than 1, it will show positive deviation and gas is not compressible, not easily compressible, Okay, so you need to remember this. Once you remember this, any question, any way it is asked, you can answer. So Z is equal to 1 for ideal gas. Option B is the correct answer. 7th question, the relationship between Kp and Kc is Kp is equal to Kc RT to the power delta N. What would be the value of delta N for the reaction? They have given 1.5, 1.5, 2. Of course, 0.5 and 1.5 is not possible here. We have all 1, 1, 1 as the balanced stoichiometric coefficients. Okay, it can be either A or it can be either D. So we shall solve delta N. What do you mean by delta N? Number of moles of gaseous products minus number of moles of gaseous reactants. Okay, so in the product side, how many gases are there? 2 moles. So 2 minus, is this a gas? It is a solid. So I don't have anything in the reactant side, so it is 0. Answer is 2. Option D is the correct answer. Okay. Next one. Acidity of BF3 can be explained on the basis of the following concepts. We have Arrhenius concept, we have Bronsted-Lowry concept, we have Lewis concept and Bronsted-Lowry as well as Lewis concept. According to Arrhenius concept, anything which can give an H plus ion is an acid, anything which can give OH minus ion is a base. Bronsted-Lowry concept, any substance which can give an H plus ion is an acid. If it takes up an H plus ion, it is a base. But Lewis concept, it is based on electrons. So we'll see BF3, okay, it is acidic we know, but based on which concept we can explain about it. Okay, so structure of BF3, if you see, it's like this. Okay, what is the electronic configuration of boron? Boron atomic number 5. So I have 1s2, 2s2, 2p1. After formation of BF3, how many electrons it has got? It has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 electrons it has got. It is not completed its octet. So it is requiring 2 more electrons. Only if it takes up 2 more electrons, it will complete its octet. So it has a tendency to accept electron. That's why it is based on which theory? I told you electrons. Which theory? It is Lewis concept. So Lewis acid is something which can accept a pair of electron. So answer is option C, based on Lewis concept. There is one more explanation which is given for the acidity of boron trifluoride. That is, see, when it undergoes hybridization, I have 2s1, 2px1, 2py1 and 2pz0. Okay, that is, if I draw the box diagram, you will get to know 1, 2, 3. So this p orbital is empty and sp2 hybridization takes place. So I have a empty p orbital over here and I have a filled p orbital in fluorine. Fluorine atomic number is 9. I have 1s2, 2s2, 2p5. Correct? So, one electron which is requiring, there is no hybridization taking place. So, that one electron will take up one more electron to form a bond. The filled, we have two p orbitals which is completely filled. Among that, one p orbital which is filled will overlap with the empty p orbital of the boron to form back bonding. Pi bond is formed, which is back bonding, because fluorine is now giving to boron. Okay. So, because it can again take up electrons, it is acidic in nature. So, there are two ways there is explanation which is given for acidity of boron trifluoride. But in both the cases, what is happening? Boron is accepting electron. When it is based on electron, which concept it is? It is Lewis concept. It is very clear. So, it is option C which is the answer. Fine. Next question. For the redox reaction, they have given us one redox reaction. You have to find the values of X, Y, M and N. There are a number of ways to balance a redox reaction. Because they are asking only for MnO4 minus and oxalic acid and Mn plus 2 and carbon dioxide, it's quite simple. You have to just separate the equation, find out how many units difference is there, and you have to balance it. Okay. So, we will see. I will separate and write two equations which is undergoing oxidation and reduction. Okay. So, MnO4 minus Mn plus 2 and H2C2O4 which is giving CO2. Find out the oxidation state. Here for oxidation state of manganese is +7 and here you already know it is +2. If you don't know how to calculate, x plus -8 is equal to -1, x is equal to +7. Okay. And carbon here in oxalic acid is +2 plus 2x plus -8 is equal to 0, x is equal to +3. So, this is +3, and in carbon dioxide x plus -4 is equal to 0, x is equal to +4. So, for carbon dioxide, carbon is +4. One more thing you have to do. The next step is, here there are two carbon atoms but I have only one carbon atom. So, I have to balance that. I have to put that 2. Now, how many units change is there? Here 1 unit change, but there are 2 carbon atoms. So, 1 into 2 is 2 unit change. +7 to +2. So, how many units change is there? 5 units change is there. So, multiply the entire equation into 2 and this entire equation into 5. Now, I'll just add and write. I am not bothered about water and H plus ion because they are not asking here. Otherwise, the next step would be to balance oxygen using water and then balance hydrogen using H plus ions. Correct? So, as they are not asking what is Z and P, I am not doing that step. That's all. So, what is the answer? It is 2 MnO4 minus plus 5 H2C2O4 to give 2 Mn plus 2 and 5 2s are 10 carbon dioxide. Next step would be, I would have to balance the oxygen atoms, okay, where the oxygen is more. To balance that, on the other side I would have added water molecules. Then to balance the hydrogen atoms, I would have added H plus ions. As they are not asking here, I am not going to bother about the last 2 steps. So, 2, 5, 2, 10. Option B is the correct answer. Okay. So, that is about this particular question related to redox reactions. There are many ways which you can solve. Okay. This is most easiest one which you have already learnt in your boards. But if there is a very huge equation with lot of stoichiometric coefficients which is required, then there are some shortcuts. If you watch the other videos where I have solved some of the question papers, then you will get more shortcuts. Okay. So next question, hydrogen peroxide is an oxidizing agent, a reducing agent, both oxidizing and reducing agent, neither oxidizing nor reducing agent. So hydrogen peroxide, okay, H2O2, leave alone, it will give out H2O and O2 gas. Okay. So here I have not balanced the equation. First we shall balance the equation. Okay. Now it is balanced chemical equation. What is the oxidation state of oxygen in peroxide? In peroxide it is -1, correct? Whereas in water it is -2 and oxygen it is 0. So what is happening if you see, oxygen, here it is undergoing reduction and here it is undergoing oxidation. There is increase in oxidation number, so it is oxidation. So what do you think? It is an oxidizing agent or a reducing agent? It is both, because it can undergo both the reaction. So it can act as an oxidizing agent or it can act as a reducing agent. So both oxidizing and reducing agent is the correct answer. Okay. Next question, dead burnt plaster is, they have given calcium sulfate with half H2O, calcium sulfate dot H2O, calcium sulfate with 2 H2O. What do you mean by dead burnt plaster? If we burn gypsum, what is the formula for gypsum? It is CaSO4 2H2O. So if gypsum is heated, it can form plaster of Paris, that is CaSO4 dot half H2O. Okay. When it is heated above 393 Kelvin, only then all the water molecules are lost and we call it as dead burnt plaster. So what is dead burnt plaster? It is CaSO4. Okay. So that is about question number 11. Next we have question number 12. Identify the following compounds which exhibit geometrical isomerism. See, for geometrical isomerism, I require a carbon-carbon double bond. Correct? Also, not only this is the criteria, we need the groups which is attached, which is similar, so that I can tell it is in the cis form or in the trans form. We'll see the option now. Butane and isobutane, butene, but2-ene and but1-ene. I told you it needs carbon-carbon double bond. So obviously option C and option D is ruled out because it is saturated hydrocarbons. There is no double bond over there. So it has to be either A or B. I'll write the structure of both. I have CH3, CH double bond, CH, CH3. This is but2-ene, and I have CH2 double bond, CH, CH2, CH3. So if you observe these two structures, for the carbon atom which is involved in double bond, I have two different groups, hydrogen and CH3, hydrogen and CH3. Whereas in this I have two same groups, that is hydrogen atom. So this will not show geometrical isomerism, where this will show cis form and trans form. So it is option A. Okay. Next question. During the fusion of organic compound with sodium metal, nitrogen present in organic compound is converted to. This you all have studied as sodium fusion extract. In organic compound, what do we have? We have carbon. Also, fusion of organic compound with sodium metal, which contains nitrogen also. So it contains nitrogen, it contains carbon. All organic compounds contain carbon, plus it has got nitrogen. You are heating it with sodium metal now. What will it form? Will it form NaNO2, NaNH2, or NaCN, or NaNC? So the answer is it will form NaCN, option C. It is directly from your NCERT textbook. Next one. The reagent X used for the following reaction is. We'll see the options, that is the catalyst what we are supposed to use. First one we have is nickel. Option B is palladium with carbon. C is nickel aluminum hydride, and D is sodium with liquid ammonia. Now, what is happening in the reaction? Addition of hydrogen is happening and one bond is broken and hydrogen is got added to both the carbon atoms. Correct? Triple bond is converted into double bond. So, it is reduction reaction which is happening. Unfortunately, if you see all the options, all are reducing agents itself. All are reducing agent. Then, how are you going to choose the correct catalyst for this particular reaction? I shall give you the detail about all the reducing agents here. Okay. So, if I have R, C, triple bond, C, R dash. Okay. If we use hydrogen with nickel as a catalyst, all the double bonds, that is, it will completely break both the double bonds and you are going to get an alkane directly. You cannot stop it at alkene. You are going to get an alkane. So, you will get it as R, CH2, CH2, R dash. Okay. Whereas, if we use palladium with carbon, or we can also call it as Lindlar's catalyst if we are using, okay, with palladium and carbon, what is going to happen here? You are going to get it as R, C, double bond, one hydrogen will get added up, another hydrogen will get added up, R dash. That is, you are going to get the cis form of alkene. If we use sodium with liquid ammonia, okay, for reduction, then you will get R, R dash, H and H. You will always get trans form of alkene. Okay, that is here anti-addition, this is syn addition. Okay. What about lithium aluminum hydride? I already got my answer. Actually, the answer is PD with palladium with carbon, which we'll also call it as Lindlar catalyst. Okay. Now, what about lithium aluminum hydride? Why not lithium aluminum hydride is the answer. Lithium aluminum hydride is a nucleophilic reductant. What is it? It is nucleophilic reductant. That means it will react with electrophile. But is my compound an electrophile? No, because they are electron rich around these triple bond or between the two carbon atoms where there is triple bond. It is electron rich. But this is a nucleophile, means it will go to only the ones where there is positive rich compound. Correct, no? Lithium aluminum hydride is a nucleophilic reductant which likes to go towards an electrophile, but this is not an electrophile. That is the reason you cannot use lithium aluminum hydride for reduction. Okay. So, you have the answer as palladium with carbon. Next question. Which of the following ion will cause hardness in water? Hardness in water is caused by insoluble salts of calcium and magnesium. So, which is the correct answer? Option A, that is calcium salts. Next one. Which of the following oxides show electrical properties like metal? They should show what? Electrical properties like metal. Why do metals show electrical property? Because they have electrons which are free to flow. Correct? That is the reason metals show electrical property. Now we will see what are the options here. Option A, silicon dioxide, B, magnesium oxide, C, sulfur dioxide, and D, CrO2, chromic oxide. Option D, chromium oxide. Now among these, they are asking us which of the oxides show electrical properties like metal. We have silicon dioxide, which is belonging to P block. This is belonging to S block. This also is belonging to P block, and this is belonging to D block, the metal or the element. Here sulfur dioxide is a non-metal oxide, correct? Here it is a metal oxide, magnesium, but it will show only one oxidation state, +2, and the element is very small. It is small atomic size as well. And silicon dioxide is belonging to P block elements, and it's also a non-metallic oxide. I can tell it show non-metallic characters, okay, or it is a metalloid, I can tell, okay. But chromium, if you take, it is belonging to D block elements. As it is belonging to D block elements, it can show variable oxidation state, and when it can show variable oxidation state, it can lose electrons easily, and also it can thus show electrical property like metals, okay. So the answer is option D. Next one. Which of the following aqueous solution should have the highest boiling point? 1 molar NaOH, 1 molar Na2SO4, 1 molar Na4NO3, and 1 molar KNO3. Now here if you observe, all of the solutions which is there, they have the same molarity, that is 1 molar solutions, okay. But my question is, they are asking to find out which has the highest boiling point. Boiling point is a colligative property, or specifically elevation in boiling point is a colligative property. Colligative property depends on the number of solute particles, correct? How many solute particles are there? It is directly dependent on. Now boiling point will increase, boiling point will increase if I value increases, that is Van 't Hoff factor I, okay. How many number of particles are there when it is getting dissociated, because here it is almost all are ionic, okay, ionic solutions you are going to get. So in the first option, I value will be 2, because Na plus OH minus separates into 2. Na2SO4, so the I value will be 3. Here the I value will be 2 again, NH4 plus NO3 minus. Whereas here it will again be 2, K plus and NO3 minus. Correct? So which has got the higher I value? That is Na2SO4. So obviously this should have a higher boiling point. So boiling point increases with the increase in I value, or Van 't Hoff factor. Colligative properties are directly proportional with the increase in the Van 't Hoff factor I. Okay. Next question. The charge required for reduction of 1 mole of MnO4 minus to MnO2 is, the charge required, okay. So it is MnO4 minus to MnO2. We'll just find out the difference in oxidation state. Here x is equal to +7 I will get, and here I'll get x is equal to +4. So 7 to 4, what is the change in oxidation number? It is 3 units. correct? Thus, Q is equal to NF. N is 3. So, it is 3F. Answer is option B, which is 3F. Okay. Next question. For the reaction 2SO2 plus O2 giving 2SO3, the rate of disappearance of oxygen is 2 into 10 to the power minus 4 mole per liter per second. The rate of appearance of sulfur trioxide is. They have given rate of disappearance of oxygen. You are supposed to find rate of appearance of sulfur trioxide. Okay. Answers you see, 2 into 10 power 4 mole per liter per second, 4 into 10 power minus 4 mole per liter per second, 1 into 10 power minus 1 mole per liter per second, 6 into 10 power minus 4 mole per liter per second. So, you are not getting any other hints here. You have to just solve and you will get the answer. Just write the rate of disappearance, that is delta O2 by dt. This is minus is equal to plus 1 by 2 TSO3 by dt. Now, plus and minus sign you don't have to take when you are solving the problems. So, this value you already know. You have to find out what is this. So, 2 into, this value is 2 into 10 to the power minus 4. Okay, 2 2s are 4. So, the answer is 4 into 10 to the power minus 4. Unit will remain as it is, mole per liter per second. So, option is B. 4 into 10 to the power minus 4 mole per liter per second. Okay. Next question. Which of the following electrolyte will have maximum coagulating value for AgI, Ag plus salt? They have given us Na2S, Na3PO4, I have Na2SO4 and NaCl. Observe here, the sol is a positive sol because it has got Ag plus attached to AgI or adsorbed on AgI. So, it is a positive sol. If it has to coagulate, we have to look into the anions which these electrolytes can produce. So, the anion which is there from first one is S2 minus, this is PO4 3 minus, this will give SO4 2 minus and Cl minus. Okay, and the cation given is same, that is sodium, from all of these solutions. Now, based on Hardy-Schedule rule, coagulating power is directly proportional to the charge. I need a anion to coagulate this particular sol. So, I have to see which has got the highest charge, that one will have the highest coagulating power. So, this has the highest coagulating power. But my question is, which has got maximum coagulating value? Now, what is the difference between coagulating power and coagulating value, or coagulation power and coagulating value? Coagulating power is inversely proportional to coagulating value. What is it? Coagulating power is inversely proportional to coagulating value. Now, what do you mean by coagulating value? It is number of millimoles of electrolyte required to coagulate 1 liter of colloidal solution. That means, if the coagulating power is less, more amount of that solution you have to add to coagulate a colloid. correct? That is why they are inversely proportional. Now for example, this coagulating power is very high. That means very small amount of this electrolyte is enough to coagulate a particular colloidal solution. For this is for a positive salt. If I have a positive salt, if I add very small amount of this particular electrolyte, it will coagulate fast. So it has got a minimum coagulating value but highest coagulating power. Now they are asking us which has got maximum coagulating value. That means you should have minimum coagulating power. So it is chloride. It has got only one charge, no, compared to 2 minus, 2 minus, 3 minus, only 1 minus. So this more amount of NaCl will be required. So the coagulating power will be less for this, but coagulating value will be more because more quantity of NaCl is required to coagulate a positive salt. So the answer is NaCl. So I hope you have understood this concept.